Thanks. So I'm very excited to be here. Like ever since I've moved to Australia, I wanted to come to this Melbourne SEO Meetup, and here I am right now. So it's fantastic, and I'm also very excited because Python is great. Frankly, I start to even like it as much as SEO. So it is crazy how great learning a new programming language is, and that's what I want to share. So let's get some stuff done here. This is not an SEO automation or slash machine learning talk. I'm not qualified to talk about machine learning. I don't have the maths necessary. And SEO automation is a long process. And what I want to stress upon is that you can see massive amount of benefits from Python well before you get into SEO automation and machine learning. I feel like these are trending keywords that people use without necessarily knowing how to do it or even what it is. So, but I do know that you will see benefits within like 3, 4, 5 weeks of learning Python. You're gonna be able to make your work easier as an SEO. Not everyone will benefit from the same thing though, because you have small website owners that just have their own blogs or their own website. You have agencies and you have big sites. So everyone can benefit from it, but you will not learn the same thing. So basically, small site owner will learn marketing automation with social media automation. They will learn some web development. They will start to build their free SEO tools because, let's say it, we don't, a small website owner don't want to pay for SEO tool, and they should not. Python can leverage free tool because you can build them yourselves. Agencies, on their part, what they're going to be doing is mostly reporting. There will be some kind of automation, and they also can create scripts that they can reuse from client to client. So this is amazing. When you get into larger website like Seekiz or Jora or whatever big website you are, you will get into data analysis. You will start manipulating data. You can build your own tools tailored to what you need, not like the tools that were built for everyone, but those you can build specific to your need. And you will start to leverage APIs. So there is not one single path to learning Python. In this presentation, I tried to focus more on the small site owners because I've wrote a lot about data analysis, and I think most people can apply this to their own blog. So this is why it's interesting. So what we're going to talk about is 5 reasons to learn Python, and I'm going to give you a few example scripts, a few that I just posted about for this presentation on my blog. And I also tested some SEO hypotheses with Python, and I'm going to talk to you about that. And I will, in the end, show you how you can get started right now. So it's a very big presentation. Feel free to ask questions. I don't mind. I speak fast or slow, depending on the people listening to me. But basically, feel free to stop me. We're just going to make it longer. And if we don't have time to cover everything, I put links to everything. So the goal here is
I love that.
Yes,
Thanks so much.
I give you the most resources I can. It's not on GitHub yet because I posted most of it like a few weeks ago, or in the last days. I posted one article yesterday just for this. So let's get going. Why should we learn Python for SEO? So let's cover the first reason to learn Python for SEO. Let's talk about Excel glories. How much do we like Excel? So this is one. Oh man, I hate that. I just look at that. I can read it. I hate it. I don't want to read it. Even if I would read it, let's say you put one error in that. How do you find it? Like, it's disgusting. I hate it. It's really prone to error. Formulas are 1,000 feet long. We hate that. This is a really bad process to work on. So leave that to I don't know, accountants or whatever. but stop using Excel, please. And like, if you look at the actual report, it's quite amazing, but how can you trust this when you have so many chances of getting errors? And this is one example that I just found, is that some people have tried to look how many spreadsheets actually have errors, and they said that it's 90% of all spreadsheets. So even if we're all good, there is a big chance that a few of your spreadsheets that you've built actually have errors and you don't trust it. So yeah, this is quite a good reason. Another Excel glory. So I'm not sure if you've heard of that little thing. It's called COVID. So a few people are talking about it right now. It's really popular, and so much that governmental institution have decided to start tracking it, and they've started adding data to it. And some people in UK decided that it would be a good idea to use Excel as their database of for their COVID tracking. So what happened is that the data was not good. That is a big surprise. So it made me laugh quite a bit. So let's have some fun. Though it's not against people, but that's funny. Ooh, another pitfall of Excel. Let's say you have a lot of data. You've made a massive good work. And this is the reason why I started learning Python. You do that, you extract all the URLs on your site, you match them to Google Search Console and to Google Analytics, and after months of work, you want to show that to your colleagues, and what happened? You cannot load the file. It sucks. Too bad. Excel is bad, but let's forget about it. We're gonna give you the first rows. It should be fine, right? So another pitfall. And Excel is all about pitfalls. They made an entire article about it saying, we have some limits. Look how long this article is. It's just limits over limits and over limits. So this is why I hate Excel. And this is why I want to show you what you can do instead of Excel. So let's say you want to build your own ads, right? You want to go in Google Ads, and you want to put all your keywords in the list. So we all did that at some point. We put some used and new, and we put the kind of product we're selling, and we're selling if it's for sale and for rent, and then we do some concatenation of all of this, and you get your list, right? You could do that in four lines in Python. Elias Debas has built the amazing library that it does so many things for SEO. So this should be one of your starting points in SEO. Let's see, 4 lines, and you can get your list of keywords really quick. You just put whatever you're selling, and you can do all these matchup, and it's gonna do your keywords list for Google Ads. And let's look at how to kill Excel in 2 lines. So basically what you do, you import Panda, and then you read your Excel file, and you never open it from Excel ever again. So you can read it and you can export it into Excel. And for people who really want to destroy Excel for the entire rest of their lifetime, all of these are the functions that you need in Pandas to be able to replicate most of what you do in Excel. So you read the Excel file, you export to Excel if you want to share it with colleagues that are still stuck in this marvelous tool. And then you can do a lot of those stuff like getting unique counts. So just go ahead to the website and get all of these functions. This is the absolute basics, but go into Panda, you're gonna love it. Cool. Any questions so far? I'm going fast, I think.
I'm sure that there's going to be questions. I don't see any in the chat at the moment, but I might just ask one right now. You're using Excel a lot to exemplify, all the all the issues, whether with formulas and file size and limitations. But the same kind of thing also exists with Google Sheets. This can also be applied, I would imagine, with any Google Sheets, as long as you change the You can download the file to a CSV or XLSX file as well, I would imagine.
Yes, you can do all of this. Working with sheets is a little bit more complicated, and sheets are actually less bad than Excel because they can plug into BigQuery. You can get as many rows as you want. Dave Sotimanos has worked with AppScript, shown that you can do amazing stuff in Google Sheets. However, I still prefer Python, and it is better forever. So let's move on. So yes, you can do all what you said with Google Sheets, but you still have limitations in Google Sheets. It is a free tool, whereas with a programming language, you can build your own stuff. And this is just
true.
Pandas. I just want to tell you, Panda is one library out of millions of libraries.
Amazing. Just thinking for my Mac users out there.
So
Thanks.
yes, Google Sheets is still good, but yeah, not Python is better on my point of view. So the reason number 2 to love Excel, not love Excel, to love Python and use it for SEO is APIs. APIs are amazing because they are big blocks of code that people have worked on, companies have worked on, and they decided to make that open source and available to you or paid, and you can just call the API and use it for your own sake. And so you're basically standing on the shoulders of giants. That people have worked on some stuff and you're just using it. So APIs is amazing. And one of my favorite, and the other reason why I learned Python, is to use Google Search Console API, because Google Search Console is notoriously limited for good reasons, because they cannot store everything and provide that to everyone. But with the API, I have managed to extract more than 700,000 rows of data per day for a single website. So you are really well equipped with the API. And for example, if you want to do that report showing the number of queries by position, it's easy to do that on a small website. You can validate subdirectory and get all the queries and all the keywords for that subdirectory, but it's a painful process. With Python, once you connect to the API, you can extract almost everything from the API, and you can do awesome visualization like this one. Very easy. There's a video to show you how to do that right there. Another thing I like to do is automatically archive backups in the Wayback Machine. So you go to Wayback Machine, you want to check one of your URL. It hasn't been archived in a few months. It's normal, they don't crawl everything, but they give you you can ask actually Wayback Machine to come to your site, look at all your sitemap, and archive each of your URL weekly. So all you need to do is one line, pip install Wayback Machine, and then you do a cron job, which we'll see later, to come back, read your sitemap every week and archive everything. So this is another cool stuff. Facebook. You can post to Facebook groups. So this is good. You can make a list of all your favorite groups, Facebook group, and spam them as much as you want. So this is good, right? You can spam as much as you want. Frankly, it's really simple. Look how simple it is to post to a Facebook group using Python. It's only a few lines. If you don't want to spam it, you want to learn, I created a Facebook group that everyone can just use and share as much crap as they want. It's good. Just practice, please, please, please. Don't spam the web for real. Just practice on that Facebook page. I'll be happy to read your funny comments or funny stuff, and I'll be happy to see that people are learning how to use APIs.
With great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yeah, but mostly people will bash you if you try to spam the web at some point. Somebody is going to cut up.
Oh, absolutely. We do have a question from Peter Mijinkovic in the comments. If you want to go and get into it. So Peter asks, how would you import multiple CSV files but transform the data like in Power BI?
So
Yeah.
So you make a loop. So you look. So it's I did that this week. So what you do is you open a file. So you use Pandas. You open you go into the folder that your files are, and you use glob package. And with glob you can actually read all the files and put them into a list. And then from that list you make a for loop. A for loop. So you make a loop looping through each of the files and adding them into a list of data frame with Panda. And from there you concat. So you do pd concat your list of data frame, and you're gonna have one big list of data frame. Does glob glob not
GLOB.
glub? Yeah. Yeah, so you would do that. At some point I can add some information to. I'll put a screenshot into the slide share. I will share onto slide shares
You're
just for you.
amazing. Thank you so much, dude.
So other thing. What's our job about SEO is to protect our assets, like try to get traffic to the content that we already have, try to improve the ranking for this content, but also discover new opportunities in order to grow. Reddit is a fantastic tool to help you understand what people are searching for, what people are talking about. And Duarte Okarma actually made a fantastic script showing how you could input any keyword and see which subreddits are talking the most about it. So this is very simple, but it can really help you learn about your industry. The Reddit API is actually probably the best social media API. It gives you so much access. It lets you post. It lets you a fantastic amount of stuff. And stay tuned, because there are some articles that are coming up on my blog at some point about Reddit API, going really deep into what you can do. The reason number 3 to love SEO and Python together is homemade tools. So let's face it, most SEO tools are really expensive, and you don't necessarily want everything in those tools, so you can start building your own. The first step is to learn web scraping. So unfortunately, Screaming Frog is just too good. So there is no way you're gonna be able. You could, but like it's just a fantastic tool, and they're growing faster than you're learning. So frankly, you won't replace it. I haven't yet, and I don't plan on trying to replacing it, in fact. But the thing that I think it's still good to learn web scraping is because sometimes it's easier to run the crawling from your script that you have already in Python, and all have everything you do in the same under the same place. But the other reason why it's interesting is because you learn a lot by trying to build your own crawler. You can learn like how much effort it goes, how much time it takes to make an HTTP request. You're gonna start understanding HTTP headers, how they work. So I've learned. I think this is the place where I've learned the most about SEO, is to understand the technology behind a web crawler like Google. But when you try to build your own crawler, you start to understanding what all the complexity that goes behind a tool like Google, but when they try to crawl your website. And I really recommend that you go into there. And the other place where I recommend that you should learn is to do automated testing with Selenium, because Selenium, what will it do is it will also render the web page, because it actually opens a browser, it navigates through a browser, and then once it's rendered, you can start testing stuff like, are your form working? And you can automate that. Every day you could say, look at my form and make sure that this add to cart button is always working, always, every second, and alert me if it's not. So this is one very important feature that you can learn from Python. You could create sitemaps. I'm like homemade tools. You could create your sitemaps without paying a second tool. Most big sites don't, like they will have automated sitemap. Some don't. And if you have a very big site, like it's really easy to build your own sitemap with Python. So why go with an external tool that you need to open the browser and whatever? This is fast. This is useful.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
Is that static, or can that be dynamic?
Yes, it's static. It could be dynamic if your website is built in Python. I'm not a web developer. I know a lot, but I'm not a web developer. If you develop your website in Python, it's easy to build your to make a dynamic sitemap. If you try to plug in your Python script into the database, and the database is written in Ruby, not the database, but if your website is written in Ruby, for example, it would be better to do that in Ruby instead. So at some point,
I'm just posting that there because that's awesome.
if you want to do an automated sitemap, talk to the dev, please. Like, they are better placed. It's a very critical thing. They need to be involved into that. If you want to build a sitemap because they don't have the resource, or you just don't care to have another automated sitemap, do it yourself. It's fine. Or use a plugin, and even before, if you were on WordPress, use a plugin. Don't do it yourself. But if you need, you could.
Oh, there are all kinds of reasons why sites don't have sitemaps.
Yes.
They'll find some creative ways to find reasons.
Yes. So before I get going, this is one of the things I want to bring why I like Python. So I've started in R at first. It's another programming language that is more oriented towards statistics. And then I got into Python and I loved it and I stuck there. And then I got into my new job and I found some guy that is working on Julia. My colleague Runner is working with Julia, and he loves it because it's really powerful. What I do love about Python and why I stuck there is because there is a big community in there. A lot of people are doing awesome stuff on the web, and in Python, in SEO, I see some people doing R stuff, most of the people doing Python, and almost nobody do other programming language. JavaScript could be a good solution. There is a lot of resources for JavaScript as well. But in the end, I'm just saying Python is amazing because a lot of people are building stuff, and you don't have to do everything yourself. And this is one fantastic example. So Daniel Eremedia, I talked to him because he published something that I found was amazing, and he agreed to post on my own site, and it ended up that is like my favorite blog post on my old website. So like, this is the power of this community, and a lot of people are doing a lot of stuff at a very fast pace. So what he did is basically he scrapes Lighthouse, and he says, if I improve one of the feature, how many points will I get more? And then you get what you should work on first. So now you can look at any page of your website or any template of your website, and you could learn, okay, you should work on large contentful page before everything else. And your Lighthouse core is going to go over the rest. And also, another example of the community. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I have questions.
Yes.
Going back to site speeds at large, and looking at different scripts and things like that for, particularly for priority lists. How does that, from your experience, how does that differ between using Python to be able to use the PageSpeed API and Lighthouse forecasting to say something like Screaming Frog, where you can also use the same APIs to be able to get some really, really great, I guess, like analysis, like snapshots across the site?
Screaming Frog is better. So let me make it clear. Screaming Frog is always better. Not everyone wants to pay for the license. And also, the thing is with Screaming Frog, you don't know how much it's going to cost in the future. And the other thing is that when you do a Python script, you could decide to Screaming Frog is super slow as well. At some point, you get into the database and you can get some very big pitfalls with that. But when you do it with Python, you can split your task over 6 months if you want. You can send that under a server. You can there are lots of ways that you can, and you can also automate. You make it easier automation when you build it with your Python scripts. But frankly, I told you, Screaming Frog will not be replaced soon. It's just too great, and at the cost they're giving it's just a joke. So yes, that's your answer.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm not a sales representative of Screaming Frog, by the way.
Non-spawn.
So Python is fun as well. A lot of stuff, it's easier to get lost into scripts and it's just wasting time. It feels like waste of time, but at least it's fun. This, Pierre Ouache is a French data scientist that is doing a lot of stuff in a large amount of sectors, and he's done some SEO stuff as well, and it's really interesting. And I translated that article for people because I thought it was just amazing. You just take a subject and look your BERT score for that subject, which is a funny concept, BERT score. I don't want to get into it. The thing is, I spent 5 minutes replicating what he did. I found it amazing. I decided to write this article and I never used it again. So this is one good example of how it can be fun, but it's not always useful. So try to focus on the task that will have actual benefit over time, and try to do stuff that you will do. If you only do it once, it's not worth it. Make sure that everything you do, it needs to be replicatable. So if you're bound to do that 2, 3, 4 times, you can use a Python script and never do it again. So this is I prefer spending a little bit more time on doing stuff, building stuff that will stay there over time. So yes,
there's so many different use cases for the previous one. Sorry, I'm you're showing it up on screen, and I'm just kind of digesting it. But there are so many different use scores for, to be able to get a BERT score for SEO. I would imagine this is maybe where you're looking at on-page optimization to be able to maybe look at leveraging the opportunity to maybe get a featured snippet. Is that sort of a common use case for being able to answer those questions, or just generally just to try and rank better?
To understand the topic of your article. By doing those things, you start to understand natural language processing a little bit better, which is good. But I have never used it again. It's not that it's not possible to use it. It's just how likely it is that you'll get better ranking from it. Yeah, Amla Batista and Mike King has made a discussion around BERT and around the pendant of Facebook that they did as well, and it was really interesting. And so this is the part of machine learning where we're not data scientists, we're SEOs. And once you start trying to analyze data stuff that are used machine learning, you are bound to make the wrong observation if you don't know what's going on underneath. So it's fun. Maybe it's not the first step. There are a lot of steps. I showed this because it's really interesting. It's just there are lots of steps that will be more useful to you than this doing a BERT score for your site. But
so I guess if I can kind of just kind of take what you just said and summarize it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. But having a BERT score that you can look at maybe across your entire site, you can get kind of a bit of a snapshot as to how each of those pages are seen by Google and understood based on the sentiment analysis, based on what the what content you've got on each of those pages, and whether or not they sort of match. They match what you're trying to go after and rank for. Is that, am I correct in that?
What he did is he scraped search engine results and analyze whether the query you're match with what he reads in the search. So if you search for something on Google, he tried to understand what was the text in the search engine, the top 10 SERP, and he tried to do he analyzed what was the subject around that and gave your page a BERT score. Is it matching to what is in Google? So yes, it is useful. It is just a little bit further down the track. There are usually more optimization to do before that.
Yeah.
but it's
at
fun.
The same time,
I know why you're excited. It's really fun. I'm pretty sure that you're gonna go and try to do it, hopefully. And it's fun. That's what I did, and this is why I wrote about. And so it's I don't want to talk too much about machine learning. I don't think I am qualified to go too much into that.
No, but it is really fascinating to think that we can leverage Python to be able to essentially assign a score from what we can understand, or for what smarter people than myself especially has been able to figure out from the BERT algorithm.
Yeah. It is a good idea. It's just that I think it's easier to analyze entities. You can do that with the knowledge graph API that Greg Bernard has actually wrote on my own blog as well. The knowledge graph API, so this is good because it splits your article into entities. And when you look, Google understands the web into entities, and understanding your own entities let you evaluate if your content is actually telling what you want it to be telling. So that would be a better step.
Awesome, thank you.
So Streamlit, Peter, I'm coming up on that a little bit later, but I don't know. I have never used Streamlit yet, but I saw the presentation of Charlie. It's coming up. Yes.
Awesome.
So yes, it is good. So this is exactly going in the vein of where I'm going. Testing hypotheses. Streamlit, what it is a tool that you can build web app and make them public for free. So this is what I'm going right now. That's what I did. I didn't do it with Streamlit. I did it with Flask and Heroku, but I built a small testing site to test SEO hypotheses. So you can do that with Python. You can build an app, and instead of waiting for your developers to do something and try something, you can actually test stuff in Google Search Console, see how it reacts, and then once you know what's going on, then you can go to your devs and say, look, it worked. We need to do it. So here are a few examples of hypotheses that I've tested. So I've made a website and I said, what happens if I time out the website? So I discovered that Google will wait for actually 30 seconds, and after that, it's a server error. So I just used the live testing tool, and now I can see that straight away. How long is too long for a redirect? So if you redirect to a timeout, it's still 30 seconds. If you want, how many redirects is too many? Now the answer is 6. At 6 redirect, you get a redirect error. A lot of people already know that because I discovered a few days after doing that John Mueller had actually given that answer in a Hangout session, and they're recrawling those URL later. But the thing is, you don't need to wait for John Mueller to give you all the answers. You can try stuff yourself and try to see how Google Search Console is replying you when you do stuff. So I had a lot of fun doing this. I made a page to see how long Google would wait for JavaScript. So I made a page that was just counting seconds. After 4 seconds, they didn't render anything. I was wondering how long it would wait for the redirect. The answer is still 4 seconds, because basically they're just waiting 4 seconds for JavaScript. There are probably other rules, but when you make it at the most simple way, you can start understanding all these small components, and this is one of the small components. How many characters is not enough? So if you take that page with all this content and you just decide that you take 5 characters like this from the text, and you look into the test, live test URL in Google Search Console, what happened? You discover that under 28 characters, you get a sub 404. So you need at least 28 characters on your page. Most web pages have, but this is one rule that is probably added by Google to just identify if your web page is actually a web page. If not, they send a sub 404. So that's interesting. You can also do it yourself on your own site. So here I made a mirror of my own site. I didn't post that. I just made a mirror of my own site, and I test the same idea that I just showed you there. And I just said, what if I add only 1 character in my article? I don't get that sub 404. So it might look like redundant, but this is the kind of stuff that you can do with Python. You can start testing a lot of idea. And I did all that in 1 day, by the way. It took 1 day to do all of this. So it just gives you the scope of what you can learn by starting doing stuff yourself instead of trying to make everything public. Or yeah, it's good. So how you do exactly what I just showed you, you need to build a Flask app. So Flask, Streamlit, you could use Streamlit, Peter. It's okay. I have never tried it. I thought the presentation was great. But I use Flask because I think it's really easy to use. Then what you do, you add Google Analytics to the root or your own page of the Flask app. And then you deploy it for free on Heroku, which all the documentation is there. Then you validate your app in Google Search Console, and then you can do whatever test you want. You can make it public. You can actually do a 100% mirror of your own website and just test whatever you want. So it's really interesting. If you don't know about Flask, go to this mega tutorial, which is not mine, but is really, really complete. Cool. The reason number 5 to love Python for SEO is automation. So I told you I would not talk about automation, but turns out I do in 1 slide. If you want to, if you can take a script that you've written and just automate it by asking your, like you could do that on a server, but if you want to do it simple today, tomorrow on your own website, on your own computer, you could do either use Task Scheduler on Windows, or you could use Cron on Mac. So what you do, you're saying every day, every week, every year, or every seconds, run this Python script. So just look at these 2 articles and you're going to be able to do it yourself. So fantastic. So what are the next steps? So are there any other questions? No, we're good. So I know it's a long presentation. Hopefully it's coming soon. So the next step, you need to understand how to run a Python code. So you have 2 categories. You have notebooks and you have code editors. Notebooks are used to write code as a blogger. For example, you can document more. You can run line by line by pushing on the little play, and then you run the code and you see it. So it's really useful to learn Python. It's easier to learn Python this way. It's easier to share it with people that they don't need to install Python to run it. However, as you become more using more Python, you're going to move into a code editor because you're going to start to write code as a developer. You're going to start sending that to GitHub. So I think it's for the daily work, it's better to use a code editor. I don't use at all notebooks anymore. but you could. They're good. They're visually pleasing and really easy to share. And I don't like Elias Dabas told me to use. He's way above me in Python, and he told me to use notebooks because it's easier after all to write a blog post using it. So yes, so it's you use it as a blogger. The next step is to install Python. This was the most painful part I did. Like it's actually the hardest part in Python is to install and run your first Python script.
Can
When
confirm. I
yeah,
tried.
well, the first time I tried to install it, I installed it on the server, internal server of my company because my account was on an internal server and I couldn't use Python at all from the command line. So yes, it's complex. There is paths involved there, but don't give up. Like it's the first time that you're gonna give up with Python is when you try to install it. At some point, you need to take 3 days and just, man, I gotta install it. Once you install it, it's not gonna take 3 days every time. It's not that complex. It's just it seems complex. You install Python with Anaconda. What it will do is it will install a lot of package that you will need in the future. It will install tools like Spider ID, RStudios, and Jupyter and stuff like this. You don't need anything of this. You just install later on VS Code. You use VS Code, but Anaconda will install everything you need to run Python. So don't get too confused. Just do it. And after that, you don't need to go into the Anaconda navigator. You just need to run Python like I will show you. So the next step, if you want, but this is my favorite text editor, is VS Code. What you do is you install VS Code and then you install the Python extension. And then you need to learn how to run it. So this is really for the beginner, but it's all right. I understand the beginner is the hardest part. So try to do exactly what I showed you. I create a script that is called simple.py, which runs a hello world message. It prints it to the console. The README and the git ignore on only common GitHub file. They could not be there and it would change, so nothing. So just focus on the simple.py. You can run that code that you see here in two ways from VS Code. Is either you use the terminal or you use the Python interpreter. If you want to use the terminal, you can open it straight from VS Code. And then you use the Python command plus the name of your script, and then it will run hello world like we see here. So it's not that hard. It can look complex, but it's not that hard. Once you use VS Code, it is really easier to, because since the terminal is inside VS Code, it's easier to never switch pages and always be in the same place. The other way you can run Python code is using the Python interpreter, which is basically running line by line. So you need to select the lines that you want to run, and then you press Shift Return or Shift Enter, and you run the code line by line. Which in the beginning, if you use VS Code, you're gonna use that one a lot more than the terminal. And over time, you're going to move a little bit more too. But I still use both of them.
Do you need to use both of them, or like is there
no?
Why do you use two?
Because once you do plots, from terminal you need to save the plots, and because they will not show, if you want to show a graph, they will not show in the terminal. If you do this in the Python interpreter, they will show, because this is kind of your notebook on the side. Okay. So you need to use both? No, it's just because when you just want to run one line of your script, it's easier to use the Python interpreter. When you want to run all the script, you use the terminal.
Oh, okay.
So the next steps, once you have installed Python, you have created your first script and run it on VS Code, I suggest you take an online course. Like my website is the best place to go to install Anaconda. And once you've done that, you go ahead and you take an online course. Like my blog is not the first point. You should, and nor is Coursera or Udemy. I think it's really hard to learn from those stuff. Datacamps is like so easy. Like you have the interpreter in front of you. You have someone showing you, and you can test it straight away. So you can learn really fast in a few weeks. You can learn Python, and it will give you the basics that you will need for the like a long time after that. You'll still need what you learn from there. So even it's just learning how to do maths or stuff like this, it's really interesting to go and master the basics before you get into building projects. And then you learn Pandas. You just learn Pandas. It is your best friend. So Julia Choban, as I don't know if it's the way we spell her name, but she's made she has analyzed screaming frog data using Panda, and you can learn a lot from there. Once you've done your first course, you can start learning more about Panda, and this is the first gate where you should go. And then you have other Panda stuff, and you should focus, like, ditch Excel and just, or even Google Sheet, and just focus on Python. And if you force yourself not to use Excel or Sheets, you're gonna learn Python and Pandas very fast, and you're gonna love it. Hamlet Batista calls it Excel on steroids, but he's wrong, because no matter how much steroids you give Excel, it will still be a long and painful and very error-prone tool. So give up Excel for the love of it. Oof.
Is there any particular reason why it's called Panda? I just asked because I think
That's a good
us
question.
SEOs are like Google Panda, like algorithm update. It's
I don't
like,
know. Probably Pandas became before the algorithm update. I don't know. It's because it's a lovely animal, probably. I don't know at all.
Well, Panda does assess the quality of your content. Maybe this is like maybe the quality of the code. I don't know.
I would not pronounce on that. I have no ideas. I've never even asked myself, so it's good. So you can find the answer. Find the answer. Post it on Twitter, and I'm gonna retweet it and like it, and even put a meme or something on it if you want.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
So you can go the extra length. So what I love the most about learning Python is it gave me a lot more leverage to understand what web developers were doing. Even if I had a good idea, you start to speak the same languages as them. If you want to go the extra length, you should go and start learning GitHub. Start with Python. Like, forget about this slide for a while. Come back to it in a few months. Learn GitHub. Commit to GitHub, because you can save and you can keep a trace of what you're doing, but you can also use the same tool as your web developers are using. And once you start doing that, you can go into the code yourself later, and you can start learning a little bit more about what they do, when they did it. So yeah, this is the absolute big step to do somehow later, and I build a guide telling you exactly what you should do to learn it. Listen, let's celebrate other people. Like, the community is awesome, and I should start with this guy who is Elias Debas, who's built the Advert Tools. Is the biggest SEO library. In fact, it's the only big SEO library. You should definitely play with it, read it, understand it. It has some stuff like it. You can like this example, you can read your sitemap, but you can also use the Twitter API. You can check your robot.txt. So there are lots of stuff you can do, and is really prolific, and this is the best library you could learn after Pandas. Corey brought some very good things as well. Is Googlebot. So you can actually take all your logs, you could basically use a URL, look at a log line, and make a reverse DNS lookup from terminal if you want. But this guy has made a Python script that does that for all the URL you give it. So you could look at your logs and see all of those lines. Are they really Googlebot? So this is fantastic work. Thanks to Greg Bernhardt as well. So I have announced myself as a fan of Screaming Frog. So this work is really important. How do you automate Screaming Frog with Python? So this is a must-go destination. And Streamlit. So we cannot have a presentation without bringing in the kings. Hamlet Batista and Charlie Wang. Yes, Charlie has talked about how to build a Streamlit app. I thought it was really interesting. I still prefer Flask, but I haven't done Streamlit, so I have no idea if Streamlit is better. So choose one, get good at one, and you're gonna. All of these stuff are doing basically the same thing. So you just choose one, you get good at it, and then you're gonna see the benefits faster.
I would also like to express my sorry, I don't know why I was going to go on with a Simpsons meme for that, but yeah, those two guys are really fantastic at just helping lots of people on Twitter. Like I haven't spoken too much to Hamlet, but like Charlie has been instrumental in actually like me getting into Python for the very first time, and why I'm having a lot of troubles because as you highlighted before, just installing and starting to use like just any one of the Python programs is a challenge I wasn't anticipating, but he's been instrumental at being able to help myself and a lot of other SEOs out there. So shout out.
Yes, it is a good shout out, and I would say the same with Hamlet Batista, who's really helped me too. And most of these people have also told their. I have a blog post where they tell what were the best way to get started as well. So a lot of people have contributed to this. If you go into my Python SEO blog, at some point, a lot of people have contributed, and this is what is good about this community. Like SEO community is a tight knit community. Like it's a really great community. But once you get into Python SEO, then it's a smaller community where like it's like everyone wants to help each other out because we're all fans of Python and we all love that. And yes, so if you need help, just feel free to ping me as well. I'll be happy to help.
Amazing.
And good shout out to both those two. So other shout out. So yes, we cannot go around without talking about J.R. Oaks or even Vincent Terrassi, which is another French who this guy has done so much amazing work. Not of it is public, but he's made a translation machine learning model that is amazing. If you could translate all your content of your site instantly in any languages you want, you could do it. So it's good. Brittany Mullers has put a series of collab notebooks. People speaking French, go to Pierre Rouart's blog. And Python is not everything. Like all programming languages are great. They have their upside, their downsides. I do love what Dave Sotimanos and John Murch has brought in their JavaScript scope. These guys are bringing like stuff that do actually compete pretty well with anything that Hamlet Batista is promoting. Python is great, but yes, JavaScript could very well be the homepage as well to do exactly everything we just saw. We could do it in JavaScript, or Julia, for example, is also possible to do that. So if you're interested in other amazing programming language, just go to Dave Sotimano, John Murch, or Runner Dust blog, and you could also learn about those programming language. So that was a lot. Hopefully you have homeworks and you're gonna do it, and you're gonna come with awesome scripts next. I'd love to see what you guys are coming up in a few months. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be great.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. We cue the round of applause from all the people watching that we can't hear. That was phenomenal. Guys, of course, like if you want to be able to reach out, I'm just going to basically echo exactly what you said. Please find him on Twitter, or he's got a fantastic website with loads of fantastic blogs that he's referenced all throughout his presentation. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, dude. That was phenomenal.
Cool. I'm happy. That was great. Hopefully I'll be there in the next assisting to one of your presentation.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to when we're all going back and, being able to do this, but face to face. We don't really have any more questions, but if you'll humor me, I have a couple of questions, because I think this is kind of something that maybe harks back to the last presentation for SEO Meetup that I ran with site migrations. But I was wondering. I'll just preface this whole thing with a little bit of a story, if you can humor me. But with site migrations, one of the things that we need to look at is to be able to match up, like either in the staging site to the new sites, loads of strings of URLs. So a lot of the time we'll use things like fuzzy lookup to be able to go through and use a little bit of like NLP to be able to match that up. For me, I have a Mac laptop, and so therefore I use like Google Sheets and things like that. And a lot of that is, I find that like some of my janky workarounds don't really work all that well. And I've sought other people's opinions on, what do you use? And a lot of those people are PC users. And a bit of a shout out to Peter Machinkovich, who has been in the comments, who's really been instrumental to helping me see what it looks like on a PC and how you use fuzzy lookup using Excel. But we're also talking about Python right now, and the limitations and things that we can break in Excel. So in your experience, is there something like that already exists, like with a Google Colab, that basically does fuzzy string matching, or anything like that you're aware of?
So I'm not sure, like the mapping from staging to dev would necessitate fuzzy, but I understand why you would need fuzzy. There is a fuzzy wuzzy package in Python that you can do fuzzy matching as well. It's a little bit. I haven't mastered it yet. Every time I try to do it, I get into some trouble at some point. Yes. Why would you need fuzzy matching? Why would you just rewrite the URLs instead? And I'm not sure why you need fuzzy matching.
Well,
I
yeah.
understand why you would need it, but not in that that case.
Yeah, I think what's the function of what fuzzy lookup does is to identify from a URL string a commonality and match it to another to another list with the same kind of commonality, and then basically place them next to each other and just basically say, like, this is as accurate as we can be able to deduce. This cuts down a lot of time. It's not a perfect solution, no doubt, but when we're dealing with thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of URL strings, in two different lists, or in some cases, like many different lists, I think just the ability to be able to lean on automated processes, using formulas or leveraging opportunities with Python to be able to help us do that. It saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of headaches, and instead, it just now goes back to to being able to go through and manually check that, but not actually have to go and manually scroll through a list and to find and match. So that's what I think is the great appeal to being able to use fuzzy lookup to be able to find that. I'm not familiar with fuzzy wuzzy.
It's fuzzy. It's a Python package that does exactly what fuzzy lookup is doing. So it's the exact replica of it. So you could do it. One thing you could also do is just split with Python. You can split all of these URLs using a regex. For example, we have jobs in sales jobs in Melbourne, Victoria, and I have marketing jobs in Melbourne, Victoria, and I don't have subfolders, so I use regex to split that into components of the URL, and then I can get the location and the keyword and group them by keyword or group them by location, even if the string is weirdly formatted. And I could do that in multiple languages quite easily because I'm using regex instead of trying to do fuzzy lookup. So you can like split all URLs into components if you want to do that. You can also lemmatize words. So basically, if you have sales and sale, you could just remove back to SAL and they are all together. And it's kind of a fuzzy matching as well because you're just taking the common string. So for this kind, like when I did a site migration back when I was at Jabilico in Canada, that was the first part I had to do was to use Panda. Like that was the 3 months work I told you I made an error. I couldn't go ahead with that. But then I did the same work in 3 days because I could, with Python, instead of using Excel, get all the URLs from the site, match them to Google Search Console data, match them to Google Analytics data, match them to logs data, and then I could do all of this stuff and make the redirection pattern because I could split those URLs like you just said by saying, okay, all these locations, they actually provide 0 value. So I could take all these locations that provide 0 value and just canonicalize them back to a broader location. So it is like once you get started into that, it is kind of a step to get started to it. But as so in 3 weeks after you started learning Python, you're gonna reap the benefits of Pandas over Excel in only 3 weeks. If you so you're in an agency. You need to build, like, I think you're in an agency, but agency work, you need to build Python script that can be reused from clients to clients. So don't go too much into the specific of the URLs. You can just do a subfolder and use a fuzzy matching, which is good enough.
I think
hopefully it answered your question. Did
it? It definitely. Well, it gave me an insight as to how you would tackle it, and I think when we've got an opportunity to basically just dictate what the end outcome is going to be, that gives us like a world more flexibility. I think. We've leaned on trying to look for solutions like this in instances where we have, we've got the crawl of the existing site and maybe like a couple of other subdomains as well. And we're dealing with a development agency who's basically said, this is the list of URLs that we are going to create and deal with it. And it's now up to us to bridge the gap in between what we can see from our existing site and other things to what is being created, and we need to find out fairly quickly as to where's the discrepancies, other than just being able to say like, well, this list A is longer, is bigger or smaller than list B. I think sometimes, particularly for me, because I like to do due diligence on URLs that will or won't be transferred over to the new site. I want to be able to see really, really quickly what hasn't been like captured. So I can look at the organic traffic, keywords, and backlinks potentially for those URLs that won't be captured. A lot of the times, I think that's kind of like another case of where I find using something like fuzzy matching for incomplete or inexact matches to be a really fascinating use case for this sort of thing. And maybe I might just be going down a little bit of a rabbit hole and being very excited as to like how Python can bridge that gap. But we can always chat about that offline as well.
Yeah, a lot of the place where I don't actually look at the URLs, I spend most of my time on Google Search Console because it gives all of that data. But the thing is, you're limited when you don't use the API. But when you start using the API, you start seeing some overlap of URLs that are actually cannibalizing themselves. And if you're saying you have a better replacement for all those URLs and you want to match it, you don't necessarily need to fuzzy match with the URL. You can actually look at all the keywords that are ranked for these queries and what is the percent overlap. And the one that have a really big overlap, you can all redirect them or canonicalize or do whatever you want. Update the content if you want. So I understand your use case. Another possibility would be to do entity analyzing. So you analyze the entities of if I don't know how many URLs there are, but if it's 1,000 or 2,000, it's fine.
It's in the hundreds of thousands, which is why it's just
So So in the hundreds of thousands, you don't go about and crawl all of them. Okay, you go with the URLs. You try to understand. So that's when you go into Google Search Console. That's when you dive deep and you try to overlap the percent of keywords that are shared together. And you're going to find out that some of those URLs doesn't have the clicks and they are cannibalizing. And you start with the ones that get 0 clicks. But yes, the best is you use the API, you extract everything, and you don't even crawl your production site by doing that. And then you look at your keywords data and URLs data, and from there, you're doing this fuzzy matching. More than crawling with Screaming Frog, which Screaming Frog is also a dangerous tool because you can crawl very fast a website and you could make your website down as well. And you could have your dev coming with axes and bows and arrows and try to hate you when you don't know what you're doing. So this is why learning web scraping is interesting, because you can learn what's causing those problems. Because Screaming Frog is maybe too powerful for some users.
Yeah, especially I love that you're encouraging a lot of people to use the APIs. We can use APIs with Python, but again, in Screaming Frog, they've got they've got Google Analytics, Search Console, Majestic, Moz, and Ahrefs, which is fantastic to be able to look at at scale what has happened historically on that site, given like a different time period, to be able to have some kind of idea of again, organic traffic, keywords, backlinks, and a host of other really amazing metrics.
But to do that, you need to crawl the website. You don't necessarily want to crawl a website with millions of URLs to know that. So this is where it's kind of like, I would not want to impact production on that if you need to crawl a page. If you go ahead and crawl 2 million pages without telling anyone, or 10 million pages without telling anyone, and you do that every time just because you want Google Search Console data, that's not the way to go about, because you're crawling your site. If you're using the API, you get that data, then you get your URLs and you match them. Instead of trying to crawl and do all of this all at once, you can do each of them separately and you never crawl your website even once. So you never impact production and you get all this data. It's okay to crawl. It's okay to crawl. It's just you don't do it like 20 times in a day just because you want Google Search Console data. That's not the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah, well, I'd be surprised if your machine was able to handle a site that was like 1 million URLs plus 20 times a day. one, I think your machine would just kind of
Yeah.
sound like a jet engine, and
Yeah,
two, I
3
think
days.
yeah, I think you would definitely come into a couple of issues with some devs.
Yeah, and also once you load all your JavaScript, you've crawled through 2 million URLs, and then you try to save it, and it takes 2 days just to save your file. So I love Screaming Frog, but yeah, in fact, crawling millions of URLs, I haven't done that in quite a bit of time. So you don't need to crawl an entire site ever, or almost never. You can do it, it's all right, but most of the time you don't need to crawl an entire site. You need to do it at least once to have all the scopes of URLs. If you don't have specific rules, sometimes the devs can give you the rules and you're gonna have all the URLs without even crawling. So, but yes, you need to crawl at some point, but you don't ever need to crawl the entire site.
Yeah, awesome. I have one last question, and I think we'll wrap it up there. What has been the coolest time-saving solution that you've used with Python to help you in your everyday tasks as a senior SEO specialist at Seek?
Um, I don't. I want to tell it. I don't want to tell it. So a big time saving is reporting.
Tell us.
And it's not even my script; it's my colleague's script that was looking at some metrics that we need to keep track of every day. And whenever they make a big change, those metrics change. And so basically, for those metrics, you make your report, you analyze, you make counts, you make so there are like 50 formulas going around to be able to make a report. And he built it in Julia, in fact, and I translated it in Python. But basically, the report, you take 1 second every month, and that report is being made. So it goes to the page that you need. It looks at the data you want. It extracts, it computes the data, and it writes the report for you, adding all those data for all the report. And then you take 1 second and you copy and paste it and you send it to your colleague. So making
That
report,
sounds so awesome.
but I don't want to put it because I haven't cleared that up with anyone. So I don't want to tell. So use your imagination. But yeah, building report like this is good because with Python, you can do all of these things. So if, for example, you're looking at sales, I know that one of you guys is working in for e-commerce site for Best Buy, I think, or not Best Buy, but another JBI, I think. So if you're looking at sales or the price of product, for example, you're trying to look at uptime. Yeah, better, even better. If you're trying to make a report for the out of stock product, and you want to absolutely take a look at your top 10,000 project, you want to make sure that they're never out, then you can scroll those pages every day or every week or every month and go extract the out of stock tag. And then once you get it out of stock, you're saying 0. If it's stuck, you say 1. And then you compute all those metrics. And at the end, you're saying, okay, over the months, out of those 10,000 products, we had minus like 12 points, for example, saying 12 products were out of stocks for 1 day. So you compute your metric, and at the end, you keep all that into a database, and you make your graph of the number of out of stock product per month. And every time you take that out of stock product per month and you send a report that is automated, it's written to this month we had 25,000 out of stock product, which is 12% more than last month, which is 10% more than expected compared to last year. For the same period, and you send it automatically using the Slack API to one of your colleagues that needs to know that, your boss or whatever. And that way you save yourself from giving that answer to anyone. You never have to do it yourself ever again, because it does that automatically every month. So that would be a similar thing of what I was telling, but using with the JBI Fi Guy product.
Which, as we can see in the comments, Peter Machinkovich, my good friend, is the JB Hi-Fi guy.
And good on you. I tried to do a case study on JBI Fi, and I could not find a problem, any problem with your out of stock product page. So good on you. I tried to make a case study on that, but good work for Peter on JBI Fi. Yeah, it's inspiring.
Yeah, he's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much again for your time, guys. Round of applause. Thank you so much. This is utterly incredible. And again, if you want to be able to reach out to Jean-Christophe, please. Sorry, just saw the little comment from Peter. If you want to be able to reach out to him, find him on Twitter at chouinardsjc, or of course, like at jcchouinard.com. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you in the new year.